Now, March is largely regarded as Women's Month. It's a month for organizations and individuals to share women-centric stories, to celebrate the achievements of women, and to bolster support for movements and the issues that affect women. And I'll also add that a lot of women issues, such as sexual assault, harassment, and even pay disparities, can be men issues too, but the whole point of Women's Month is to focus the spotlight. So in the middle of Women's Month, Fox's very own Tucker Carlson decides to make a stand against women and femininity. Yeah, he begins by praising a Chinese initiative to teach masculinity, which is strange for someone who's openly criticized the government for running programs that he claims are outside the sphere of what government should be doing, but nevertheless seems to imply that a government masculinity initiative is a good idea, going so far as to state that delicate and effeminate people are more likely to listen to Dr. Fauci because he doesn't like Dr. Fauci. Therefore, only delicate and effeminate people would listen to Dr. Fauci. So anyways, so Tucker's piece was all about warning you, America, that the Chinese are not only building a strong military, but that they're also becoming manlier. My God, not only do they have a bigger navy, but they have hair on their chests. Then he or his producers pretend as if President Biden's response to Chinese masculinity and military strength was women-fitted body armor, maternity clothes, and new acceptable hairstyles. They literally pulled a clip from the president's Women's Day address, which had nothing to do with a response to foreign power. And it was a clip. They played a clip to convince you of how stupid the notion of women military clothing and hairstyle was. You know, with all of Tucker's experience, leading women in uniform and into combat. So, quote, pregnant women are going to fight our wars, he said, adding, it's a mockery of the U.S. military. While China's military becomes more masculine, Joe Biden wants ours to become more feminine. Now, I spent my first 4 years in the Army, in the artillery, before women were allowed to enter that field. When I reclassed to Intel, working alongside women was kind of weird at first, to be perfectly honest with you. I'd been told a lot of stories about what it was going to be like, to be cautious, that it was going to be a dramatically different experience. And in some ways, it was different for me. But it wasn't a life-shattering experience. I didn't find myself neck deep in women hygiene issues, pregnancies, and other stupid notions that I'd been warned about. What I found were soldiers. Women who wanted to serve their country alongside their male counterparts. And guess what? There were dirtbag women soldiers like there were dirtbag male soldiers. There were stellar high-speed female soldiers just as there were stellar high-speed male soldiers. The only issue I had was with folks that had that mentality Tucker seems to be proud of. The idea that women or woman equals girl, which equals soft, which equals weak, which equals no place in the military. Tucker's point was that it was all out of control, he said. Woman hairstyle changes, maternity wear. Dear God, it's all gone crazy. And now the Chinese are manlier. How will we fight wars? All right. So my ex-wife is a service member. So if my own service didn't convince you I was a veteran, 2 divorces should. And let me tell you, she went to work pregnant. She did her job, and she did it very well. Pregnant. She wore maternity clothes that were issued to her, and she returned them back to the Army after she had her kiddo. She went to PT. She went to work. She fought the baby weight gain. She did everything that was expected of her as a mother and a soldier. She stayed within regulations as they pertain to her hair, nails, and makeup standards, and she enforced those regulations as well. She was not a unicorn in that regard. In fact, she was the standard as far as women soldiers go in the U.S. Army. A huge majority of the women in the military do what they're told, when they're told, how they're told to do it, just like their male counterparts. Standards change in uniform, appearance, everything changes. Men are petitioning to be allowed to have beards. I'm sure Tucker's super excited to find himself surrounded by manly male service members rocking super masculine beards. But not even sure that guy can grow one, to be perfectly honest. But I hope he does. I'm sure that empowered by a beard, he would stand against the masculinity of the Chinese government and protect our frail women service members. Of course, every military leader worth a damn jumped on Tucker's comments, calling his views and opinions idiotic, downright insulting to both men and women in the military. Hey, male vets and service members, those jabs were at you as well. You're not manly enough, apparently. In fact, the women in your life, like your mothers, your sisters, your grandmothers, aunts, they're dragging you down with all that femininity. So the DOD condemns Tucker's comments, and rightfully so. Quote, his opinion is based on 0 days in the Armed Forces. Marine Corps Master Gunnery Sergeant Scott H. Stalker, the senior enlisted leader of U.S. Space Command, said in a video on social media Thursday, quote, the bottom line is that we value women in our armed forces. We value those who have served in the past, and we value those who have served today. We value our families in the military. Major General Patrick Donahue tweeted, just a reminder that Tucker Carlson couldn't be more wrong. Mothers in uniform fight and win our nation's wars. Fathers in uniform fight and win our nation's wars. Soldier is not a gendered noun. Dr. Maggie Seymour, U.S. Marine Corps Reserve officer, tweeted, possibly my favorite tweet, my uterus has more combat time than you, Tucker. So instead of an apology or just shutting up about saying something as stupid as what he said, Tucker declares himself the victim of a war by the DOD and his show. He said, quote, it's like we're a hostile foreign power. Let's be clear that the DOD didn't declare war on him. Military leaders vehemently disagreed with Tucker's comments and opinions and took offense at his admiration of Chinese social programming, which somehow has gotten lost in this entire anti-woman service member message. You all get that he publicly admired his communist social reprogramming agenda, right? I mean, it's literally a Chinese social program. Now, I really liked Command Sergeant Major Ben Lemon's response to Tucker's self-declared war on himself. Quote, the DOD didn't attack your show. We absolutely disagree with you. Trust me, you know if the DOD attacked you. It's a doctrinal term. So let me wrap this up. Women are great. Men are great. Our military service member is greater. The Chinese military is the wish version of the U.S. military. You can build a bunch of boats and claim the record for the biggest navy in the world. Ooh, super cool. And I encourage them to double down on their masculinity program because it's stupid. And anything a rival military does that's stupid, I'm a big fan of. As for our military, we have our problems and we have some major issues, but we are trying to double down on professionalism, to creating a fighting force that doesn't need femininity or masculinity, but instead relies on a professional, focused, and deadly assertion of our will on our enemies in the battlefield. Women in maternity wear supporting bearded and non-bearded men and women warfighters. And Tucker, don't worry, the men and women of the armed forces will continue to protect you and your stupid opinions of them. Also, feel free to go to China and get in on that masculinity training you're so hype about. You can come back and show our feminized military how many folding chairs you can pick up with each arm. We'll be right back.
Who's to blame when the bank runs dry? If money follows money.